Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and sitting down with me on this Business Today interview is Morten Wierod, the Global Chief Executive Officer of ABB, one of the largest companies globally in this space. Welcome to Business Today and welcome to India. Not your first trip, many trips, and you've been a ABB veteran of sorts, almost a quarter century. Before we get into some specific topics, just a sense from you of 2025 and 25 years in ABB, and you've been traveling to India very often. How does the Indian economy and market and its growth potential look like to you?
No, I think today is a better time than ever. I mean, we've been ABB India, been here for 75 years, and we have this year our anniversary. And I see that the opportunities today is bigger than it ever been. As you said, I've been here for visiting at least once a year for the last 25 years. And we always waited for India to be the next China, one of the growth engines on the world. And I would say that especially the last 5 years, that has really happened. And we see that in our numbers as well. So the whole trend of electrification and automation, which is sweet spot for ABB, that is happening now in India with the investment in infrastructure, with the investment into renewables and strengthening the power grid, all of those trends in helping us in our business. So I'm very optimistic also for what I see for India for 25 and I would say the next 5 years.
Morten, when it comes to the global economy, we've seen a period of change, supply side disruptions, particularly after COVID. Mm-hmm. And we are also seeing companies de-risking themselves from one particular geography to considering alternatives, including India. You are not a newcomer to India. But how does the India investment opportunity, the market opportunity look like to you? And if you were to rank it at a global level, where would you sort of slot it?
Yeah. Now, we've had this policy internally, ABB, what we call local for local, for many years. And that means that what we sell in the country or in the region, we want to produce in the region. So it just gives us more stability, as you say, less exposure to geopolitical changes, as we have seen in the last years, more and more of. And this means that, so what we sell here in India, more than 90% is already produced in India. So that means we are very local. That's the same for our other main markets, like both United States and China. So India, of course, is one of our growth engines also in ABB. We have, today it's market number 5. I do expect that in 3 years it will be market number 3. Probably that in line also with the global GDP. So that's my optimism for India, and why we also allocate more CapEx, more resources here to India with more R&D, more engineers and more engineering resources, and also more manufacturing and better coverage of the markets, because we see good opportunities in India. And I always believe you need to be strong in the home market before you can go outside. We do that already today, but I believe that export opportunity out of India is good, but it only comes from having a strong position in your home market. And it's a bit of quoting Frank Sinatra: if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
You can make it in India, you can make it anywhere, because India is a very large market with a unique set of challenges. Before we get to discussing your future plans here, another comment about the kind of policy response that you see for foreign investors like yours. You're not new to India, just to repeat that point once again. But have you seen changes, and if so, how would you describe them?
Oh, I think what is important for all large companies is, government's predictability, that there is changes is okay as they are long as they're long term, and they need to be consistent. They need to change. To stay, and that's what we have seen also over the last few years when it comes to less or simpler and less legislation when it comes, so that it's easy for business to operate. But also when it comes to taxation, again, simplification is in the core, and that has helped. But also making more interesting to invest in India, easier to get, also taking your how you taxate profit, how it is also to do adjustments, and how it is just to handle capital in the country. These are just fundamentals in any business. And I think India has done a lot of good decisions, making also more of federal legislation, because that it's different in every state makes it more difficult for us as a global company as well. So these are things that is important for any global business or any larger business operating in a country. So this will be part of an investments criteria. So of course, when that goes in what we view is the right direction, we're also allocating more resources, more investment to the country. And that's what we have done in the last year. And that's also what we're planning to do in the coming years, because we invest where we believe there is a future larger market than what it is today.
What sectors do you believe in are going to be those where you invest and are going to be significant growth drivers in the future?
The biggest opportunity right now, where we see the biggest growth in the field of data centers, that is coming up big time. Before we talked about 10, 20, 30 megawatts of data centers. Today they are in the 100 plus megawatt. And these are, which requires a lot, 100 megawatt, it's, put it another way, that are 10,000 households. So we need more electricity, and that's in the center of what we in ABB do. It's all about electrification and automation. So when those things is needed, that's when that's the sweet spot for our business. So that's why we see, like in the field of data center, but also integration of more renewable energy into the grid, but also decarbonization and more capacity in industries. I met with steel companies, with cement companies this week when I've been here. They're also looking at how can they expand their capacity, but they also need to do it at a competitive level, because import from China, from elsewhere, is always there as an alternative for consumers. And therefore, Indian companies need to remain very competitive in this very competitive market, but they also need to do that in a more sustainable way, because that is the intent also when I meet with our large customers and partners. They want to be more productive and more leaner, what we say, but they also want to be cleaner. So that fits with what we do in ABB when we're talking about helping our customers, partners to outrun their own competition and stay relevant in the market. So that's at the core of how we want to help our partners and customers here in India.
When we look back at many sectors of the economy over the past 3 years, one of the key things was supply side disruptions. You have a global overview. If I were to ask you about where exactly are we when it comes to overcoming those supply disruptions that happened post-COVID all across the world, and that kind of had its second round effects. Are we completely out of that, or do you still see some areas of concern?
I think we are mostly out of it, because we have built a more resilient supply chain today than what we had pre-COVID. Most industries have learned our lesson. I'm happy to say that ABB, I think, was one of our strengths in this situation. We had already our local for local initiatives, which meant that we were not so dependent on one factory, one supply unit, manufacturing unit in one country. We were already having multiple sources, and that helped us through the crisis. But we have seen we need to go even deeper. You need to localize the next step of supply chain. Your suppliers and your suppliers' suppliers, they also need to be local. If raw material comes from outside, where there is today maybe restrictions of import, it puts you in a difficult situation. So I think that's a new level of constraints that we have seen now. It's not just about capacity, it's also about where it comes from, because with new tariffs or with even import restrictions, we will make it tougher. I'm talking here about in the field about semiconductors, but also rare earth minerals like permanent magnet as one example. So this is where we still have to look at how can we engineer ourselves out of those challenges.
Do you see import restrictions or tariff hikes being a significant concern for a global industry?
It is for maybe especially when we talk about the rare earth minerals, because these are used in taking the field of electric motors. To get high energy efficient motors, you very often need to use permanent magnets as part of a motor. Our response to this has been say, how can we get out of that bottleneck so we are not dependent on one supply source of critical components? And we've been able to design a new rotor for a motor, which is the most efficient motor ever, which is running just on e-steel instead of permanent magnet. So that's one way where you can use smart engineers and technology to design yourself out of a bottleneck, so you're not kind of held hostage to one supply unit on these kind of experiments. And this goes into many areas. It goes in the field of semiconductors, but also, say, in the field of raw materials. So this is a constant battle when we are in our industry, and we just need to kind of take these battle on one by one to try to de-risk and make so we avoid those situations in the future.
Could import tariff hikes be a similar disruption as the level that we saw post-COVID?
Yes, it is, because using again an example from the United States, when they had imported some overnight, we got 25 or even up to 40% tariffs of components coming out of China. Of course, for our US business, that was a big change, which led to inflation and was a disruption of the whole supply chain, because we did not have enough capacity in America or North America to deal with it. So there it's where it's important to be in the forefront and foresee some of these changes, what can happen. And so you're not, because political decisions we know is taken in an evening and could be valid the next day or the next week. And
but for companies, the impact could be multi-year.
Yes.
Let's move away from that. And, a platform shift of sorts has been underway for some time. If you take the internet as one watershed moment, with the advent of generative AI and the consequent developments. How significant is that shift, and what are your thoughts about what is likely to happen to companies and corporations with this platform shift?
I think AI today is one of the bigger changes when we will look back 10, 15 years from now. As internet and the adaptation of when we got that. It was, some people I remember, I'm old enough to remember in the late 90s to say that the internet is a hype and is something that will pass. It didn't, and I think AI is one of those things as well. It will not pass. It is a bit of a hype today because now everything is AI, even what it's not. We are also eager to put an AI label on it.
And see stock valuations change as a result.
So I think there is still 50% of hype, but then there is 50% of reality as well. And that is big enough that to take it very serious. How I deal with this is we are trying to use that across the company. We don't have a small group of AI experts only. We want the whole company to be up to date on AI. That means we encourage everybody to use it as much as possible within some guidelines, because there are some risks also with AI, and we should not be blind, even though we are all technocrats, often in ABB with a lot of engineers. We should also see the pitfalls and the downsides of AI and how it can be misused. So, but it is a fantastic opportunity that we all have to take, I think, both as individuals and as companies. And we want to do that. And for me, it's more about what's the new things that comes. I mean, it will be something we all use. And I don't think there will be a new market opening up due to AI. It's more as usual. It's the one, all who are in the lead, we will take advantage and find a new application where AI can really kind of make us perform even better. And those who don't will die and fall behind. So this is more, as always, how normally the market, you need to be in that lead of technology and in the forefront and use it to everything. And we see already today that the easiest probably is to find the benefits of reducing cost internally, because they can automate a lot of manual work today in the field of engineering, software programming, in just kind of very transactional work, also with big data analytics. So there is a clear cost advantage you can take out. But we are also more and more looking into where can we make our products better, so it makes it really a better customer experience and customer value for our customers and partners. There, I think it takes a bit longer than as always. It's often easier to find the in-house short-term cost gains But the real benefit will be when we can use it in our products, in our systems and softwares, where it makes our customers more productive and more effective. That's really what we are working on mostly now.
One of the downsides that concerns India, and I ask you this because you are an employer of a fairly sizable number of people here as well, is the impact of AI on future jobs, including, you spoke about the manual routine kind of work. In your experience, is that a valid fear?
I think it is. I mean, history also showed that, yes, if it's a valid fear when it comes to exactly the jobs we do today. But as always, automation is a bridge to something new. And that is what I've shown. If you look at all our machinery equipment today, yes, it did displace a lot of the work we did in the past, looking in the agriculture sector. But we still need a lot of farmers, and those who are not farming do something else. So I think it does challenge us as an employer that we need to upskill our workforce so that all of us stay relevant as an employer and then as an employee in the future. So it is a challenge there. I don't think we should kind of hide that fact. It is a challenge for all of us to stay relevant in a job market, but that is also up to us as a company to help our workforce to stay relevant for the future. That's why we do a lot of training. That's why we kind of also are giving new opportunities, because we will see a development, as you say, from manual work, but to more value-added work in the future. But there, it's more important. I think I wouldn't be worried as such. We should take it serious, but we shouldn't be worried or afraid of it. It's more it's more to challenge or say, how do we stay and how do I stay relevant? And I think that is from, if you are working in a global business or a business center, to the CEO, you still always need to stay relevant and on top in your job. So that's the constant challenge for all of us.
As I wind down this conversation, a couple of points, and I turn back the focus to India. Where does India stand in terms of its development, infrastructure, economy, engineering, manufacturing capacities, and the transition to energy, if you were to sort of compare it on a global scale? Because this is something I really want you to tell our viewers, that where do you see us on the economic curve on a global basis?
Yeah. We still have a lot of work to do in India when it comes to the infrastructure development and the grid investment, because as we are moving to more and more electrification of everything, and that is happening. I refer to the data center as one big consumer, but also we're talking about producing more raw materials for the needed infrastructure investments. So we need way more electricity in India, and that has to become more both with renewables, with solar and wind, mostly here with solar. But I also believe that India would need some nuclear power in the future when it comes to small, mid-sized reactors. I think that's a program that is running in India that also needs to be taken seriously, because if we want to decarbonize the Indian society, only renewable will not make it. So we need to find also other energy sources. So energy efficiency, which is maybe you can say is an old topic, but there is huge opportunities in energy efficiency in buildings, in industry, and also then we have the whole electrification of transportation. So all of these I say there are huge opportunities to do it in India, but we also need to see a shift in some of the investment to get more electricity and more grid capacity. So there will be large investment needed in the coming years to make India also to fulfill these very optimistic and good ambitions that has been put in place. But that is also going to take a large investment in the power grid side to be able to do that.
When ABB completes 100 years in India, how large do you want this company to be when it comes to the Indian operation?
I want, at that time, which is only 25 years from now, so in 2050, I hope there that India is at least a clear number 3 in our ABB operation. I think it's up to the country to see if we are able to challenge even China in those days, because the population and the demographics is probably better here. So that will be I think, the interesting challenge. And if ABB India can internally challenge also our two biggest market of US and China, I think that would be a right ambition for the company.
Well, that's a good target that you set for your colleagues in India. Morten, I wish you all the very best for that and for everything that you're doing here. All the very best. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll see you again. Until then, goodbye.